Welcome back to the F.I.S.H podcast. We've been activated with Lily Sally Walker off of camera, and we want to tell you what F.I.S.H stands for and what we believe Circle is, and then we'll get into guidelines and questions. So F.I.S.H stands for Forging Inspiration, Strength, and Hope. And that's what we just want people to be able to feel, is that they're strong enough to be able to share their stories and can inspire others to share. Circle to us is a place where you can feel vulnerable and create community with everyone and just have like a nice environment and just like have a grand old time.
So the guidelines for Circle are you're allowed to pass. Passing is okay. You're not going to force anybody to speak, but we do encourage. We want to hear everybody's thoughts and opinions. And this is the talking piece. It's a potato. It's kind of duct taped up, so you can't really see that, but it's a potato, trust. And we used it during our circles at Summit, so we thought that this would be the perfect time to bring it out. We did get rid of the fish, so we don't have the fish for this one, but next episode it'll come back. And what happens here stays here, but it's going on the internet, so I guess we can't really say that either. And yeah, what did I miss? There's one more. Oh yeah, it's a sequence. Oh my goodness. It's a sequence, and it's gonna go in one way until it comes back to any of us three. Yeah.
Would you like to explain Summit?
Okay, so we had Summit. It was in September, like the first week. Yeah, okay. And so from multiple schools, leadership kids came to, we went to Vermont. And it was an empowering retreat, and which allowed a lot of us to grow and open up, and it's supposed to be like a special time for everyone. Okay, what else do you The first question? Okay, so we're gonna move on to questions. Okay, so we're gonna do names, and then your favorite part about Summit, or just leadership in general.
My name's Belle, and my favorite part about the summit was hanging out with everyone.
My name's Kate. I'm a math teacher at Ticonderoga. And my favorite part about, the summit, I guess, first, it was just from perspective of being an adult there, watching all of you guys bond and just having a great time, and the energy was so high, and everyone was just smiling, and I felt like I was smiling, like, because it was just contagious, and especially the first day that we were there, and it was just a really great feel-good environment. As for just the program in general, I love watching, a lot of the students that are here have either done Braves or are a part of Braves, and just watching that program and how it kind of progressively is starting to fill our school environment. And I see a lot of other kids that haven't been a part of our leadership program coming in and wanting to join. We just had a circle at school yesterday, and it was flooded with like 20 kids, and a bunch of them had to say that they couldn't come in just because we already had so many people. And to see people drawn into that is just such a great feeling.
I'm Malik, and let's see. There were a lot of things I enjoyed about Summit. I feel like one of the things I enjoyed most wasn't even a specific event that happened. It was sort of the intermission in between, where I was able to intermingle with all the different associates and cohorts that I made while walking around. I wear a lot of bracelets, actually, and I tend to wear them as a sort of trap to get other people in and being like, ooh, I like your bracelets. And I found that they are a great way to have a conversation starter. And I started many conversations and made a lot of friends, a lot of which are also in the circle here, and I overall enjoyed the Summit experience a lot.
I'm Sarah. I'm a school counselor in Ticonderoga. My favorite part of Summit was, as an adult, we don't get a lot of opportunities where it's just fun and no stress. And, you know, and for me, being there for 2.5 days with you, I was a little nervous. I was leaving my daughters and things like that and being away from school for the second week of school. But once I was there, completely immersed, completely in the moment, which I felt like all the students were too. So that part was just definitely my favorite. We were all very, very, very in the moment and just enjoying ourselves. Yeah, so I would say that's my favorite. And then in terms of our school and Sweethearts and Heroes and the connection, I obviously a lot of what Kate says makes sense for me too, as we're co-advisors for all the Sweethearts and Heroes events, and just the fun that it brings into the school day, right? School counselors, math teachers, we don't always get like fun stuff all the time. So being in circle with students and laughing and like, it just brings joy to our school day, which I think is super important.
I'm Quinn, and my favorite part of the summit was all the people that I met there and all the connections that I made. One of my specific favorite moments is when we were watching the guy play right before the bonfire, and no one wanted to dance with me. But then I found Malik, and then he would dance with me, and it was so much fun. Like, I literally had no clue who he was. I just saw him, and he was like, "Girl, you look like you want to dance." And I was like, "I do." And he was like, "Then let's dance then." And it was really fun.
I'm Maria Pierre-Lewis, and I'm in 11th grade. And my favorite part of the summit was White Hackett was my favorite part. Yeah.
I'm Ireland, and my favorite part of the summit was the circle that we got to do with Ty, because I'm not really an emotional person, but Alex had me tearing up a bit. There were a few things that were said. I believe one of the questions was like, what's a final point you want to make, or like what's something you want to say to everybody, and we were all just like saying how we felt about each other and different things, and yeah, I was tearing up a bit.
Hi, my name's Alex. My favorite part of the summit would probably be how I met, like, I was not supposed to really go on this summit thing. I was kind of like the last minute, like, oh, you just want to go? And I was like, screw it, I might as well. I went into it as like an open mind, like, this thing's probably going to be terrible. It's going to just be a lot of work. But I walked in, like, as soon as I walked in and saw that everybody had a huge smile on their face, it turned right upside down. And it's all the circles that we did with, especially like with your guys' principal, it was so heartwarming, and I would do it over and over again.
Hi, I'm Carter Mack, and my favorite part of the summit was probably the energy that everyone brought, because it felt like people were just building off each other. Like, you'd get 100%, and then someone would go 110, and then it was like 120, and it just kept on going, and it was such a great experience and a lot of energy there.
Let me just say that Araya, oh my gosh, the magician, she was doing magic at school for the next like month and a half. She was coming up with new tricks, using the same old ones. Anybody who hadn't seen that one trick, she was doing it on everybody, I swear. Strangers that she would see in the hallway, they would know the popsicle trick. It was my favorite to see you like latch onto that and take it, and I just seeing you like happy like that just made me happy. Anyways, oh gosh, summit was so many things that it's hard to find one specific part of the couple of days that we were there to like pinpoint as my favorite, because it was such an awakening and such a good feeling just to be there and to experience everything. But if I had to pick, I think I would say the Spartan race itself. And don't get me wrong, I loved the circles and everything else was so great, and I would not want to change that for the world. But I think pushing your body to the next level and going on that Spartan race and like really challenging yourself when it comes to like the tenacity and like working through the mental blocks that it would take to get up and over that freaking mountain. Oh my gosh. But like having to become a team and work with your school and to push each other, not only push yourself to get past it. And it was the most amazing team building experience I've ever been in my life, and I would recommend that 100% to anybody else. But who's gonna go on a Spartan race? Probably nobody. But yeah.
The Spartan race was something. I think I never thought our school could get so close as it did during that race. I never thought anyone would be able to push themselves or each other as hard as they did, just because that's never what I see around here. I'm always we always have these little cliques. I talk about cliques a lot. I should really stop. My favorite part about Summit, there's, like you said, there's like, it's so much. Like, you have us jumping in the pool fully clothed after we won Capture the Flag. Like, for that to be like our victory dance, I'm gonna say, like, that's awesome. Araya kept me up till 12 one night and then 1 the next night because we were just talking. And we had these amazing conversations. Like, I think we had an hour-long circle before the second night, and we were just was it really like a circle? We were just like, we were yapping. But it was just like a really fun experience. I think my favorite part would have been the bonfire, though, because we talked a lot, and I like talking, and I like talking to people and like hearing what people have to say, and just hearing everyone was like, it was life-changing.
I would say definitely going into the summit, I was definitely nervous, very nervous, because I don't take leadership, but I've always like been around people that do, and it's really inspiring. And so one day when I was with Skylar, we were in our chemistry teacher's room, like towards the end of the year last year during review, and they were talking about it, and they were like, hey, do you want to go? Like, you seem like you want to be a part of this stuff. And I was like, sure, okay. So I was like, I'll tag along. And it was going into, I was very nervous, but after the first day, I was like, this is cool. Like, I want to be a part of more of this. And I think probably my favorite part was the bonfire, because I think at that point we were all like very united, and like I made a lot of new friends and got along really well with other people, so that was pretty cool. It was definitely emotional, but it happens. Emotions are part of being human, so, but okay, you.
Okay, so the next question is, so Peru students were not allowed to have our phones at all. So how did you guys feel about having limited phone usage or no phones? Like, how was the overall reaction when you were first told?
It was definitely a surprise at first because I think we're so connected to our phones, but it felt almost like summer camp. Like, I go to a sleepaway camp and you don't have your phones. And my personal opinion on phones is that even though they're supposed to connect you with people, they don't. You're less connected because of phones. And I think because phones were taken away for the majority of the day or the whole day, then you were able to talk to people more. There was more face-to-face kind of stuff, and that's like genuine friendship, not just texting each other. So
Yeah, so I got told by both of them that they were gonna take my phone away, and I said that I would give my phone up. I put it in, obviously you're supposed to put it in the envelope, and I put it in the envelope. But it was, at the same time, obviously, I wasn't on my phone. It was like when it got down to the nighttime when nobody was around, I would go on my phone. But it was like one of those experiences, you didn't have time. Like, there was no time to even go on your phone and look at it. Like, you had no time to look at the time. Like, you were just having too much fun. So I felt like even if you had your phone on you, you couldn't use it. So it was a good reason to have, like, get your phone taken away from you, because you don't even need it. You don't have the time to use it.
I was actually very happy to hear that we weren't allowed to have our phones, because I think that it's good for everybody to get a break from the internet for a little bit. And I remember it was the night of the bonfire, and I just took a minute. I was sitting next to like Mrs. Ellsworth, and I just took a minute to look around, and there was a circle of people like having the volleyball, and there's a group of kids over here with the football, and there's someone playing cornhole, and then there were people dancing. Like, I remember saw Malik and Quinn dancing like when the guy was playing guitar. And it was just so refreshing to just see people interacting with each other, and they weren't on their, I don't know, just like not seeing a phone in sight. And it also forces you to go talk to people. I feel like if we all had our phones, we'd kind of just be clinging to our groups, or, you know, not trying to talk to others. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I feel like most times when I'm like, I have my phone on me and I'm with a group of people that are my age and I don't know them, I'm like staring at my phone, like not doing anything. And I didn't have that, so it forced me to go and like talk to them, and I was like, okay, like I can't keep on sitting here by myself. So yeah, I definitely made a lot of friends. Like I went on that trip. My best friend was supposed to go on that trip too, and she ended up backing out the day of, because of the phones. Because we didn't find out till like 2 days before we took the trip, and everyone was like, "Oh, like no, like we have to have our phones." And I ended up going, and I ended up making so many new friends from my school and from other schools. I was like, I don't know, but the phone thing, I was a little scared, but I'm definitely glad that we didn't have them.
Yeah, I feel like not having our phone, like, yeah, we had them at night, but I feel like it was one of those situations where, like, I remember the last night before the race, we were all in the hot tub, and then everyone was like, oh, it's like 11:40, and we only had like 20 minutes until they were going to kick us out, and we're like, well, we all want to go to Alex's room. Let's all go to Alex's room. And I literally ran up the stairs, got changed as fast as I could to go to Alex's room, and my little sister was like my roommate, and she was 14 at the time, and she was on the phone with our mom and dad. And she was talking about how amazing of a time she was having and how much like she was loving it, and they were like, Quinn, like talk to us. And I was like, no guys, I'm sorry, I have like 20 minutes to like still hang out with everyone, and then I'm coming back here, and then tomorrow it's over. I was like, I'm not sitting here and talking to you guys. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow when you pick me up. Like, I'm not giving you guys all the details right now. They're like, what did you do today? I'm like, I don't know. I'm leaving. So I also feel like not having our phones forced us to connect. Like when we first got there and we all split into the different groups, I feel like that was also so smart. Like take your phones and then also take away everyone from your school, basically. So like Avery from our school is the only person who was in that first circle with me, but I also found people that I connected with that I wouldn't have done if it was a tie circle when I already knew everyone. So I loved our circle by ourselves, but I love how we were kind of thrown in there at the beginning and everyone was like, just go by yourself. Like I remember I heard Addison talking and I was like, oh yeah, I think I like her. And then like certain people from that circle, so yeah.
So we didn't know that it was a like 100% no phones until we got there, like the chaperones either. We had told our students like, it's going to be up to you, but you're still not going to have access to it, right? Like if you want to turn it in, turn it in. If you don't turn it in, you still can't use it. So when we got there, there was definitely like a shock wave that went through, and I know some people did not turn them in. But it worked out because I never saw anybody on their phone ever. So we didn't push too hard on it in that regard because they basically knew that that was not going to happen. And like Alex said, there's no time. And I love what Ireland was talking about when you look around and people are just talking, right? Because when I'm in school and I'm walking, and you guys all see it, when you're walking through the halls, and like I say hi to students and they don't even like notice that I'm there. So it was just super nice to see that. And even as we staff members got to keep their phones, but I was not on Instagram. You know, I wasn't doing the normal stuff I do when I have downtime on my phone because I didn't want to. I didn't have time. I had zero desire to. There was no boredom. There was no feeling that need to like escape into like another space during that time. So I loved it. I love that you guys all had the opportunity to not have your phones because you guys have never grown up without them. So like it's never forced upon you in that way. So I thought that was really cool for you guys to experience and spread the word that you can in fact survive without them.
It was horrible. Tears and blood were shed, friendships forged and lost. Through the tides of war, I, as but a child, had to see so many that I knew turn to darker sides that I didn't even know they were capable of. You'd think that was the initial reaction with how the entire room went crazy when it was announced. Honestly, it wasn't really that bad. Not to brag or anything, but I'm not chronically addicted to my cellular device, so I wasn't like going through withdrawal symptoms or anything when I handed it in. But honestly, like even at the time where you turn in the phone, it was really obviously easy to get around, so it was more of a morality test than anything. I am inclined to agree that, yeah, there was not like a dull moment for you to be like, I'm going to read the Daily Post or whatever you guys do on your phone. I spent a lot of time, socializing, chit-chatting. with the with the groups that I formed at the summit, and I enjoyed that a lot. I feel like, parroting what many others have said, even if I did have my phone, I basically wouldn't have, from how much I was like on the go. There's a time limit. We got to get to bed by such and such time, and I want to do so and so with this guy, and I cannot do that if I want to do this and this with this guy too. And I want to talk to this guy before I go over to here, and I'm pretty sure there's a circle, so I got to check the thing. Oh, that's gonna take me like 5 minutes to get over there. I'm cooked. You don't really. There wasn't really a dull moment of, I want to say rest, but not really rest, because there were times to, like, talk to other people and get socialized. There wasn't really time to yourself in that sort of way, I suppose. And I really appreciate that. And to defeat everything that I've already said, I'm also really glad because I didn't lose my TikTok streaks.
Oh, yeah, someone was really concerned about their streaks. I forgot who it was. I are not chronically addicted to your cellular device. Use that. So I like, Ireland, how you said that you were excited to not have your cell phone. And I know that this is my generational difference, I guess, coming in here. I was really disappointed on that first day with the reactions to put your cell phones in the box, and there was like such a stir up. I also do understand that it was kind of thrown at you guys unexpectedly because we didn't really, like Ms. Ellsworth said, we didn't really have the right understanding of that either. But I was definitely feeling really bummed out that it was like such a big thing, but at the same time I have to tell myself that you guys grew up in a different generation than me, and cell phones mean something different. So in the future of summits that hopefully will exist. Tom, where are you? Are you listening? So in the future of summits, I do think that it's something that I would like to see as a definite, like you guys kind of had. You knew you weren't going to have it before you left, and you didn't even have it on the bus on the way there, anything like that. I think that that's a must. And going off of what all of you guys said, you weren't even on them anyway. So really, what's the difference? And I do think that would. I'm kind of curious when one of you talk about how the parents responded, knowing that you guys were going to be gone and not be able to call you at night, like Marley was talking to your mom and dad that one night and whatnot, because I do think that was a concern. I know it was a concern for me, thinking, oh, none of our students are going to have our cell phones, and we gave them our numbers to contact. I am terrible at watching my cell phone, so I kind of said to Miss Ellsworth, like, can you make sure that you're checking your cell phone all the time for parent contact? Because I know that I'm not going to be a responsible adult when it comes to that, because I just forget that my cell phone's there a lot of the times. But I think that it was an important part of it, and I didn't see anyone on it either, and that made me really happy. And yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not hand him my phone. As soon as I heard Alex had his phone, I was like, I turned around, I was like walking up to the envelope, and I turned around and I put it back in my bag. But that being said, it literally stayed on like my bedside table, not being touched all weekend, and I think that was great. And people like wanted them for pictures, but like Avery had like her camera, which was great, so we still got pictures and stuff. It wasn't like a phone camera, it was like a camera, just to clarify. But I just think it was great. It forced everybody to hang out with each other. So I obviously had mine, but I wasn't on it, to be honest.
Okay, so I've got a list. So like when I first got down, we all met in the leadership room, and we were all going over like the rules and stuff, and then we got to the phones, and everyone was like, oh no, that's a big no, like that's not happening. And I was like freaking out at first, but I really only mainly wanted it so I could talk to my family, because I was going to be like however far away, and I was like, I want to be able to have contact. And then I was like, well, we have the phones in the rooms, so like when we go there I can call them if I need something. And I was like, and it's not like I will be by myself the whole time, so I'll have people to talk to. So that made me feel a little bit better about it. But I also love listening to music, so I was like, I can't listen to music, but it's fine. But like, yeah, we didn't really have much time to be on them, and I that made it a lot better, and I actually really enjoyed that because, like, for me, like, when I don't have sports or something, I just sit at home, I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? So, like, the fact that we had stuff, like, almost every minute of the day was, like, really good. My parents were kind of worried about me not having a lot of contact with them, but I made sure to call them the first night and let them know that it was okay. But, so, I really enjoyed it, and I hope that we might be able to get to do another one. I really enjoyed it, so.
So I wasn't supposed to go to the summit. About 2 days before the summit, a whole bunch of papers were like, here, take them, sign them, like, get them in quick. And that's how I went to the summit. I remember driving home from summit, and I'm like, I can't wait to text all my friends. I got on the bus, I put my earbuds in, and I was slumped. Like, I didn't want to be on my phone. I just wanted to sleep. I was so tired because everything was so exciting and exhilarating. I love how you talk. I wanted to say that first. But, like, Araya and I wouldn't have had, like, such great conversations if we had our phones. We wouldn't have been, like, gawking at this cable TV and being like, what are we watching? Like, what are these commercials? And then be like, I think I need to turn this off so I can focus. It was just so strange. Like, I had cable when I was, like, little, and now I'm like, it's weird. Like, I don't want to deal with the commercials. But I've done, like, week-long camps where I haven't had my phone at all. So, like, not having the phone and not being around my parents wasn't necessarily my biggest stress. I learned how to use, like, the telephone in the hotel room. I forgot what it's called, like a landline, right? Yeah. So I learned how to use that. That took like 5 of us to figure out. It was so bad. Like, it was horrible. We learned how to use an analog clock. Wait, yeah, it's an analog? No, it's not. It's an alarm clock that you had to plug into the wall that you couldn't. It's a digital clock. That's like how it's written. Like, it's not like the circle. Trust. But we learned how to set an alarm up for that. That also took like 5 of us, which was really sad. We called at one point on the telephone, and they're calling us to be like, what time is it? And I honestly think, I'm rambling, but it's fine. I honestly think that it was really silly of like I didn't really care. I like not having my phone. I like the detox, if you will.
Addie was just saying what I was gonna say. That's why I had to cut you off. I was like, stop talking. So sorry. Zoe and I were actually roommates, and we got in there thinking, okay, it's gonna be fine. We'll have an alarm clock. We'll have a phone. We won't need our phones. It'll be fine. The alarm clock was not plugged into the wall, so we had no time. There was no phone there was no time on the clock either, or on the phone. I mean, there's no time on the phone, so we couldn't. Like, we had to call Addie's room. We had to figure out how to call through rooms. No, we had to figure out how to use the phone in the first place, and then to call other rooms to ask what the heck time it was, because there was no, like, teachers around to ask. Yeah. But then after I know how to use an alarm clock. Zoe's lucky that I know how to use one. How the heck do you not know how to use an alarm clock? That's crazy, first of all. I was completely fine with having no phones. I didn't have one for a long time. Like, I didn't get one until I was like 13 or 14 or something like that. So I didn't have one for a long time, so I was fine with it. And then, but yeah, in the leadership room when they told us, it was like dead silent as they were going over the rules. And then as soon as they were like, oh yeah, and you have to turn over your phones, everybody was like, gasp, no way. Like, it was horrible. Everybody like erupted. It was so loud. And there was like yelling, not yelling, but like everybody was speaking so loudly, trying to get their point across, that like, I think at one point one of the teachers had to be like, shush, like, be quiet so we can explain. And then, yeah, we didn't get ours at all, which is great. Some kids did sneak theirs in, but yeah, like, the only time we were in our rooms was to sleep. We hit the bed and we were out. It was done, and there was no, like, we didn't really hang out in there much at all.
It's not that I don't know how to use an alarm clock. I just have never needed to know how to use one. Because my mom always woke me up, and then I got a phone, which I can just set the time on. but I use military time, which sets like, that's a difficulty right there. So I feel like military time for a normal alarm clock is fine. I feel like it's fine. It's even. Next question. Don't look at me like that. Next question. At the summit, did it allow you to like share vulnerable things that you never thought you could share before? And if you're comfortable sharing them, please do. You don't have to go in detail, but like just give us a little gist.
Okay, so yeah, it was more like the bonfire kind of, like talking with a lot of people and then listening to other people's stories. I definitely, honestly, it was like almost the whole time I was vulnerable, honestly. I I don't know how to explain it, but I definitely get nervous. You can definitely probably tell. But I liked talking to more like the kids from other schools, because I don't really know a lot of kids from other schools, even though I play sports, because I normally just keep to myself or keep to like a little group. And I'm trying to be better about that, trying to open up, but I don't really have a specific story or something that I really talked about besides like it's my senior year obviously, and I had gotten cut from the soccer team, so I was upset about it, but in the end I think it ended up being better for me, and I think I've had a better year so far, so I think it was a good thing that happened, and at the moment I didn't realize that, so yeah.
I don't think I really made myself vulnerable. I don't really open up or say anything, but listening to everybody else's stories was like definitely helped and was an eye opener, but I definitely mostly kept to myself.
I don't know. I think that I'm okay with being vulnerable, so I guess I don't feel it as a negative thing, but I can't think of any particular thing that happened at the summit for me that really felt like a really vulnerable moment. I wish that I got to be a part of the circle with our own students, because I know that probably some of them will talk on that. There was some things there, and no one really has shared any specific things with me, which is really great, because it kind of keeps with that spirit of circle and that trust, which is like such a good thing to that, you know. I know I've talked with Quinn multiple different times, but she never gives me specific details. She might tell me like what a question was, or like just everyone was crying, or those types of comments and things like that, which is great. So I do wish that I was a part of that, because that maybe would have, you know, been a spot to be able to be vulnerable.
Hey, Addie, how many Zoomers does it take to fix a light bulb? Apparently, like 5. Anyways, I feel like I tend to be very open in settings like this, so I feel like I made myself less vulnerable and more so learned better skills to listen to others more attentively. Because like listening is just as important as talking when it comes to like things like circle, as well as like a lot of everyday things like when a friend's like all bummed out with you, and it's like, oh, is this the sort of thing where you want me to give you advice, or am I just hearing you out here? And I feel like that sort of social part of my brain developed 3 times that day. 3 slices. Let's see. I suppose one point of vulnerability, or maybe just something that I like always have my mind on, was when, keeping it brief, of course, when like there was a circle topic of why people are outcasted. I know that I had a lot to say, and it was interesting to listen to what others had to say as well. And I suppose if I had to point to a moment of vulnerability in a sense, that would be where I would direct you to.
I love doing that circle with you guys in Peru, because it was like I came after that to my students. They're all crying and emotional. I said, we had a good circle too. It wasn't crying. It was more like you guys were figuring stuff out, like in a real way. So I was happy to witness that. So vulnerability for me, like I'm a school counselor, and maintaining professional boundaries is like really important for me. However, with this program, it challenges that for me, like figuring out how to communicate with students in a way in this group. I'm not a school counselor in this group. I have to remind myself of that. But at the summit, for me, it was the summit race that made me feel extremely vulnerable. Like I'm really comfortable with emotions, like hearing all kinds of everything. But the summit race was where I felt the most vulnerable. I prepared for it because I didn't want to be like wiped out on that course. But the first 15 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be harder than I anticipated. And so it made me dig deep into a place that I haven't had to do in a while, because I didn't want to be put to shame by any of my students, and I wanted you guys to be proud of me. So which obviously is like, why do I worry about that? But I did. I wanted you guys to be proud of me, be like, yeah, Miss Seltzer did it. So that was probably the most vulnerable time for me, just the physical aspect of it.
So I feel like I'm a pretty open person, like in circles in school. Like I feel like most people in our school know a lot about me just because I talk a lot. And so I felt like in the summit circle, it was more like other people's stories that were making me so emotional, and less me being vulnerable, because like everyone knows like everything that's ever happened in my life. But less people, like I didn't know some of the things that had happened to like some of my favorite people that were sitting across from me, and I just feel like that was what made it so so not upsetting, but so emotional for me. But the race was definitely probably the most vulnerable thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. I don't do any sports. I'm the least athletic. I would say I'm arguably like the least athletic person that got asked to go on the trip. I know I got picked for the circles, not for the race. They were like, they're like, she'll be great in the circles. We'll have to drag her along. And when we the entire time I was just like, we're going to the summit. The race will be fine. Like it'll be fine. But like when we got there and everyone was talking about the race, like my anxiety was so bad, because there was all these new people that I just met that I didn't want them to see me like, oh, that girl's in my first circle. There she is, passed out on the side of the path. Like, I was so scared that was going to be me, or that I was going to, like, fall and break my leg or something, or puke or something like that. Like, I was so nervous about that, especially after I had made, like, all these great connections with people. And then I'm like, this is going to be the true test if these people still want to be my friends after they see me on Mr. Merrill's back going up that hill. Like, I was so scared. And I remember the bus ride, everyone was like, yeah, like, Piroga, because like we were all on the same bus, and everyone's like purple, like pink, and everyone's putting their paint on my face. I'm like, okay, I'm not excited for this. Like everyone was like getting so hyped, and I was like so nervous. And then we like climbed the wall, and we were like in this little pen, and I'm like looking around me like all these people, and I'm just like, I have never felt so scared. Like I was just, oh my God, it was awful. Just that feeling of like, all these people around me look like they can do this, and I don't think I can. And I just remember turning around and then seeing like our principal and our superintendent were there in our shirts, and I was like, okay, Mr. Donahue's here, I got this. He can't see me like this either. And that was just a really cool moment. But then like once we started doing the race, like I remember we got up, like the first hill was just all mud and like right next to that pipe, and I was like, okay, this is, and so like when we were in that pen, everyone started like, when the first school went, I was like, okay, I can do this. And then it was like we were doing like our pink chant, everything was great, and then everyone just starts running. I'm like, okay, did not realize we were gonna be running, but so I started running, and then we went up that first hill, and then when we kept on going, it was like I wasn't even like holding people back. I was like, this is great. Like I'm not even the last one. And I feel like once we got into the race more, and like everyone realized, wow, this is tough. Even for the most athletic person I know that was there, like everyone was like, yeah, we're gonna have to help each other to get through this. Like even I feel like less about like throwing people, like as much about throwing people over stuff as like keeping people going, like, yeah, you got this. So I feel like being with my group, like that's something I would have never signed up for, and being with my group during that was like the best experience ever. Like I remember at one point I was like the first one, and I jumped a wall, and then I was sitting there drinking water while everyone else came around the corner. I was like, what is going on? This should not be happening. So yeah, I feel like the race was the most vulnerable thing I've like ever done.
I like how you said about the listening part. I tend to talk a lot, and I don't really listen. And in circles, I think that's the hardest thing, because I like hear someone say something, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have something to say, and then it goes around and I forget it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I had so much to say. But I think the most vulnerable part for me, I can't say that word, was probably in the room with Addie. I just like felt like I could tell her anything, and I don't usually talk about things that have happened to me or like who I am. And I was talking to her about things that I would never talk like to anyone about. And the only reason I did that, I think, is because we were in the same room for an extended amount of time. And I had nothing else to talk about, but I just was like sharing things like I would never say to my closest friend. And like me and Addie were not close when we went on the trip, and we became close because we went on the trip. But yeah, I was just spewing things that I would not say.
I think that before the summit, like if I'm one-on-one with someone I really trust, I'm usually more vulnerable. I can never say that word, vulnerable. But like if I'm in a group setting, I tend to be, I don't know, I just try to keep things to myself. And when I first joined Braves and like we started doing circles, I was like, even if I had to answer, I just like to skip. I just didn't really like to say it. But when we got to the summit, I remember the first 2 questions I just skipped because I just didn't really feel like answering. But I would have an answer, and I would hear like someone that I don't usually talk to in the circle say like exactly something that I've been through or gone through. I remember on like the 3rd question, I started to talk and started to open up a bit. And I think that because of that, going back to school and doing Braves or doing circles, I tend to answer more, and I like to talk more in these group settings. And I think a big part of vulnerability is like asking for help when you need it, even when you don't want to. And I thought a part of that with the race, when we had to have those huge rock buckets and carry them up to the top of the hill, I was dying, and I had a huge cramp in my side. I just made it up to the top, and I'm turning around, and then Carter and Haley had already finished, and they're running up, and they're like, Iron, do you need help? And I felt like such a child. I was like, no, I don't need help. Like, just go. I can do it. I can finish this. And I got down to the bottom, and my cramp hurt so bad, I like almost started crying, and I felt like such a wimp. But then we got to the other part where we had to bring the sand, I think it was like those sand bags up to the top, and I knew that I probably wasn't gonna be able to do it on my own, so I asked a friend to help me. So I think that there's, just taking what happened the first time and then changing it.
Before I went on this Braves thing, I love listening. I'll sit there and I can listen to anybody for hours and just let them talk to me, but I shared nothing. I keep everything to myself, and whatever happens to me, I try to solve by myself. And I wouldn't say that's the best thing to do, but that's how I was before. And then when I went on this Braves thing and I was sitting through all the circles, it was just changing my perspective of like, I think I can open up a little, but like I don't need to hide everything that I think. Like I can open up and share stuff about me. And that definitely, when we had our tie circle, that definitely that bursted my bubble. Like that popped it. I was like, all right, I gotta stop. Like I can't hold stuff in anymore. It's just hurting me more than it's hurting anybody else. So I started opening up, and then as soon as I started getting back to school, it changed from there. I was talking to everybody. I told everybody like how I felt. The truth just started to come out. And one thing that I thought was insane is I truly don't talk to anybody. When I have problems, I keep it to myself. And I went to Miss Ellsworth when I had a problem, and it helped me so much. It changed everything, how I was thinking, and I think that's what I needed. That's what Braves did for me. It just changed my perspective of like, yes, you can tell people things and don't have to worry that something's bad's like gonna happen.
I think I'm a pretty open person, but not where it counts. Like I don't I'm not very vulnerable. I kind of throw everything else out there so that I don't have to be vulnerable. And I think there's like less than on one hand I can count people that I feel like I can talk to that I've known for years. But whether it's about me or how I feel about other people, the circle that we had with the school, I was able to like tell some of those people some of the things that I hadn't had the chance to before, because it was just an opportunity to that I never had. So
I think for me at the bonfire, I was the first person asked to speak, but I wasn't really sure what to talk about. I was told to talk about leadership, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm a 103 student, and I just yapped a little bit, and I didn't know what else to say, and then from there it kind of snowballed into everybody telling their stories and their sides, and I don't know, just having to go up and speak in front of people was very vulnerable for me, even though I didn't share anything crazy, but also like those private circles that we had in people's rooms at the end of the day, every day that we were there, and just like having a recap every day after whatever activities had happened, and just like hearing how everybody was feeling and like putting out my feelings as well. Yeah.
So there's like, I can listen really well, but I can also ramble super well. I rambled really well, and it doesn't even make sense how I said it, but during that Peru circle, I was just going on and on about how I felt about cliques and all of this stuff, and then someone came up to me and they're like, you should start a podcast. Look where we are. I know. But yeah, that's kind of how this started, and I'm kind of glad that I just like let myself open up and just show people this side of me I don't normally show, because if you just came up to me in like my school hallway, I wouldn't talk to you. I don't talk. I've worked really hard to be where I am right now, and I'm very proud of myself. So me going around and interviewing all of the people and just like running up and being really rushed and be like, what's your name, grade in school, and what's your favorite color? And then being like really surprised that like this random girl is coming at them with like a camera on their face. And I'm like, come on, like I thought that was fun. And I like shared my life story in front of everyone. Like, who does that? Day one, and I'm like, yeah, I was new girl 3 years in a row. I got cut from soccer. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I quit sports. So like I'm kind of lost, but like it's okay to ask for help and like all this stuff, and like sometimes you have to help people find the help even though they don't quite know they're looking for help, and rambling about my note app. And just like how every girl has like their McDonald's order, and then like something really random, and then something like super deep, like they're confessing about their like, I don't know, like their first love, or like something so weird, and you're like, how did I even get here? Like, I don't know. I think the summit though, like in general, just caused like an open community that anyone could be a part of, and there was no like strict line of where you would fit in. Like everyone could float around to these different areas and be able to blend, not necessarily blend in, that's the wrong word, but like not feel excluded. They could be themselves and also feel free to be themselves and not like they're being judged. And I think that was a really big part of the summit, and a really big part of being vulnerable is just being freed from like society's opinions of what you should and shouldn't be. Yeah.
So I think that just about wraps up today's episode. I just want to say thank you to everybody, all of the Thai students here that have come and have wanted to be on the podcast. We're so thankful that you're here. And yeah, this was such a good episode. All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I didn't know how to end that.
That's a wrap for this episode.
Thanks, guys. Come again next month.